Gambeta will be speaking on how to include spirituality in education, Monday to day-to-day classroom transaction.
My dear friends, dignitaries, all the speakers, management, participants or the representatives as well as the principals and teachers, maybe some parents. I'm really happy to be here this morning, this afternoon, to be part of this conference on spirituality of education. As I think it's already been explained, there is no difference between spirituality and education because they are combined, they are part of each other. In ancient India, as Swamiji was saying, ancient India we used to call teachers as, what is the meaning of Guru? Guru means Gu and Ru. Gu means darkness, Ru means one who dispels. One who dispels the darkness is Guru. And the question is, what type of darkness you dispel from your students? 2 plus 2, 4. Is that darkness? Those are stars and these are trees and this is constellation. These are all planet Earth and this is the universe. Is that the darkness? Or there is something beyond what we call darkness? So therefore, one who teaches what is real is a real teacher. There was a statement made here by one of the speakers to teach bridge the gap between spirituality and what is real. Actually, my dear friends, spirituality teaches what is real and what is unreal. There are many things which are unreal. Today's education has been caught up, it is caught up in unreal, and therefore we have a lot of problems. And so therefore, keeping this in mind, when we talk in terms of spirituality and education, one basic question comes to my mind. What is spirituality? Spirituality is combined with only one word. It has only one word answer. Spirituality is joyfulness. Are we joyful today? Are we joyful today? Spirituality is an experience, and what we belong, all of us belong to different religions. This is only an expression. Religion is only an expression, spirituality is an experience. So therefore, spirituality is a joyfulness. Joyfulness that we feel from within. Even health, as somebody has beautifully defined, health is not the absence of disease, health is the joyfulness that you feel from within. So therefore, today as we discuss about spirituality of education, how to bring it into day-to-day activities or classroom, I think how to bring in joy in classroom. From living room to staff room to classroom. How to be joyful. Suppose I ask you a question. Suppose I ask you a question in the morning when you get up, early morning when you get up, and you think of your school. What comes to your mind? How do you feel? How do you feel in the morning? You feel great? Wow, I need to go to school today. I have to go to school. You feel great? You're joyful in the morning? Yes, very good. If I ask you this, if I put these two questions, suppose I put you these two questions, I want to go to school or I have to go to school. Which comes to your mind in the morning? If it's the same thing with the students. If you ask the same questions to the students, normally what comes to our mind is, I have to go to school. Therefore, most of our children get stomach problem and headache on Monday morning. And maybe some of us as teachers. So therefore, there is no joy. There is no joy to go to school. And if there is no joy to go to school, I don't think, if you have to go to school, nothing good comes out of our life. It's only when we want to do something, something good happens. And therefore, Monday to Friday, we are all sad people. It's only on Sunday, if at all we don't have anything to wash or to take care of the house, then we are happy on Sunday. Otherwise, even on Sunday and Saturday, we are sad because there is work pending at home. So therefore, practically whole of our life, we live people as very sad, serious, and that joy is missing in our life.
So therefore, joyfulness is an energy, my dear friends. It is an energy. Spirituality is not something in the temple and churches and mosques. Spirituality is an energy that you emanate from your own life. It is in you. When you are happy, there is an energy that is producing in your life, and that energy brings positive energy towards somebody else. Every thought that you and I have is an energy. Every thought that we have is an energy. I have a good energy, good feeling, good thought. The good energy travels to people whomever I think of, what we call intention. So therefore, spirituality is nothing but an energy that we have, and joyfulness is an energy. Hence, what type of energy that we have in our campus? What type of energy that we have in the classroom? What type of thought patterns we entertain? What type of thoughts we entertain in our classroom and in the campus? Are our campuses joyful campuses with full of energy, which are bringing transformation, as Swamiji was saying? Or our campuses have a lot of negative energy where people repel to enter into? So therefore, keeping that in mind, what is the operating system? Now maybe there are some teachers who are taking care of pre-primary, nursery, LKG, UKG. When you start school, start schooling small children, what do you start with? I remember one of the schools where I was, parents used to always ask, Father, what is this? Your children don't know 1 to 100, whereas the other schools, they are already teaching 1 to 100 in UKG or LKG or first standard or whatever. Because we used to use play-away method or slow method, or method which is comfortable to the students. So many of our parents want their children to be engineers and doctors in nursery. So therefore, they want them to teach fast. So what is the operating system? See, we all of us understand computer. If the operating system is good, then you can install more softwares, good softwares. And if the operating system is weak, then you can't do anything with the computer. You have to buy a new computer. So similarly, what is the operating system in any school that operates in every child? The operating system is, first thing, don't teach them 1 to 100. Don't teach them all the alphabets. Don't teach them a lot of syllabus which is set by you, because pre-primary, I don't think any department will question you. But whereas the first thing that you and I need to teach our children in the school is love for school, love for learning. This is the operating system. If this is there, then you can install any software. They can learn anything in the future. The first thing is that they start hating school, hating teachers, hating the whole learning. Then they repel. The operating system is missing. So therefore, let us have a proper operating system in the lower classes, and so that we can have a better future for our children. Don't teach anything to the children unless and until you are sure that children love school, love learning, love their teachers. And only then you go forward, and we have a sense of joyfulness is very important. I've been talking about just 2 points I want to stress here. First thing is joyfulness. Joyfulness is an experience, my dear teachers. So often education makes us sad people. Practically, if you really evaluate, 1/3 of your life is spent in school, colleges, universities, being sad and serious, and it becomes ingrained. Constantly we are told, don't talk, don't laugh. Who is laughing there? Who is talking there? So whole life, then we don't know how to laugh. Then we forget how to smile and laugh, and then we say we need to be joyful people. So therefore, it is very important that we need to have more people who are joyful. There is joy missing in our whole environment. So 1/3 of our life is spent in the seriousness and sadness that becomes ingrained. So the common spirituality or common purpose of education and spirituality is not knowing God. Spirituality is not knowing about God. Spirituality is not knowing about a lot of things which are in the universe. Spirituality and education is knowing oneself. How many of us know who we are? And that is the basics of any education. Not knowing 2 + 2 4, not knowing the universe. These things, my dear friends, even if you don't go to school, you will learn. Go to a village, there are people running business. They have never gone to the school, but they know how to return money and how to count money, how to take care of their business without going to schools. But maybe they know themselves. who they are and what they are. So therefore, knowing your own self is a real education. That is the Guru's work, to dispel the darkness, what is real and what is unreal. What is unreal? This body is unreal. This mind is unreal. This thoughts and emotions and feelings, they come and go, they change, they never stay. Everything is passing, but there is only one thing. Sir said, everything, the change is the only constant, but there is one thing which is constant. That has to be taught in education. Change is the only constant for unreal, but the real, which is deep within ourselves, that is what we call spirituality, that every teacher needs to know for herself and himself, and to teach the children the same thing, to know himself or herself. That is spirituality and education. In education, don't teach them too many things about the universe, teach them who they are. Once you know who you are, then you know what the world is, because you are a microcosmos. The universe is within you, and you are in the universe. So therefore, my dear friends, today as we talk about, it is not self-image, but yourself. We have mastered the art of selfie. Now we have to master ourselves. We have mastered the art of selfie, now master yourself. Know who you are. That is real education. That is spirituality. So my dear friends, every country, we say we are a developing country. What is the criteria for, what are the criteria used for developing country? Infrastructure, roads, buildings, companies, economy, GDP, whatever, a lot of things. I would suggest the other way. It is not the infrastructure. Development of a country is not to be measured by infrastructure, but the inner structure. If your inner structure is proper, surely that country is a developed country. That's why I think many people turn to India today, because we have a good inner structure. People who are spiritual, people who go from India to abroad to teach about inner structure. So therefore, today, what is more important to bring in inner structure? Swami just talking about transformation, trance. That word trance means you are almost in hypnosis. Actually, we are all in hypnosis, social hypnosis. Because we are conditioned by so many things, advertisements and people talking or whatever. We are hypnotized. Transformation, to be transformed, first you need to be in the trance. Then the formation takes place within. So the trance means you are controlling your conscious mind, getting into your subconscious mind, the deeper level of your mind, and you impress what you want and you express what is impressed. So that's very important to understand, maybe a little later. Swami Vivekananda, I think Sir said a small one. I'll take a little longer one on education, what he said. He said, education is the manifestation of the perfection which is already in a human being. Education is the manifestation of the perfection which is already in a human being. So that means you're not making a student what he is, which already has. You need to only bring out what he has. Similarly, there is a book called The Man, the Unknown by Alexius Carrel. He writes something like this. This may be a little shocking for some of us. He says, every child is born genius, only to be converted as an idiot in a school. And we are doing that good job wherever we are. So it's all there inside. We are trying to fill in. My dear friends, it is not information, it is not transformation, it is intuition. We need today intuition which is there within us. What we call, even in India, we call third eye. Because of this light, which is so bright, we have lost our inner eye, inner light. That's what we call the intuition. The spiritual eye is gone, finished in India. That's why when I was talking to one of the Swamijis in Puri, I was in Puri for Jagannath Ratha Yatra for a month. And when I was there for a month for Ratha Yatra, and I was talking to some of the Swamijis, one of the Swamijis was asking, what are the problems of India? And I was trying to say, what are the problems of India? Maybe some of you know much better than what I could say. Yes? Poverty? Corruption? Very good. What else? Okay, all those. Many more. If I give you some more time, you'll have a big list. This Swamiji told me, Father, these are not the problems of India. Problem of India is only one. Problem of India is only one. Conscience is dead. When the conscience is dead, corruption is possible. When the conscience is dead, killing is possible. When the conscience is dead, all those evils which you see, these are only symptoms. They are not the problems. The problem is conscience is dead. We as teachers, we need to activate the conscience of our students. Know who they are deep down. I think that is our job, to bring what they... And today's education, as I think we have been discussing, has been preparing people who can earn, but hardly it gives any insight into life itself. So when we look at life, when we look at education today, it is purely based on competition. And that is destroying the whole world. Purely based on competition, and this competitive spirit, we need cooperation, not competition. I remember in one of the schools where I was, I introduced something called group study. Group study, when I introduced, what I did was I asked the students, I made a few groups, 8th standard, 9th standard, 10th standard, because I had seen there's a big problem of tuitions. Students don't have time for study, don't have time to play because they go for tuitions. I said, well, let us stop this tuition business by introducing group system. So weak, average, bright students, they were put into groups, and every day they had to wait half an hour, and they had to evaluate for themselves what is being taught today, and if at all they have understood everything, fine, go back home. And if they are not understood, write in a slip and give it to me as a principal, and I would give it to the teacher to repeat it, and so that after clearing that, you go to the next topic. Till then you don't clear. Till then you are not supposed to go to the next topic. So this is what I introduced, and it gave a lot of boost to the learning of us, learning in school, 8th and 10th. You know who opposed this whole system? There was a lot of opposition. Who opposed? Parents of bright students. They said, if our children start teaching these weak ones, they will get good marks, and our children will not get good marks. There is a competition. And I told them, if they start teaching right now, they need not even repeat or, they need not even study at home, that will register and they'll become much better. And it happened. And somehow they were feeling there is a competition. So this is what we do. Any type of competition, my dear friends, is deep down violent and caters people who are unloving. We say love one another, love, 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 but we are creating a system in which people become unloving. And their whole effort, our whole effort sometimes becomes your name, your fame, all kind of ambitions that we are giving people. Obviously, all of us struggle, and there is a conflict, and that destroys our joy and destroys our friendliness. So therefore, this spirit of competition has to go and cooperation has to come in. And so to do that, my dear friends, I think as some of you must have read this quotation earlier, to be a champion, compete. To be a great champion, compete with the best. But to be the greatest champion, compete with yourself. To be better than yesterday. I am in competition with myself to be better than yesterday. I am not competing with somebody else. So there is no stress. When you compete with somebody else, there is stress. So when I compete with myself, there is no stress. I want to be better than yesterday. So therefore, my dear friends, what is education? Educated people can tell what is right and what is wrong. Educated people, they're hard to enslave. You cannot enslave them. They know what is right and wrong. So this is what education does. So therefore, don't teach children first art of learning, but first teach children art of living. I'm not talking about Sudarshan Kriya or Sri Ravi Shankar's. I'm not promoting that, but what I'm saying, teach children how to live life. And so that is very, very important. Every child should be helped in the school to transform his or her anger into love, hatred into compassion, jealousy into cooperation and concern. That will be real education. So that will be the result of education. So keeping this in mind, we need to teach children art of learning, art of living, not art of learning. So therefore, when children come to school, you all are teachers. What type of questions you ask them? When children come to your school, what type of questions you ask? Now you meet a child in the school, what do you ask them? What is the name of? You are teaching history. I'm teaching history. What do you ask? You know the children already. They are coming to school. What do you ask them? How are you? Very good. Next question. Wow, have you done your homework? The good teacher. Have you done your homework? Have you done your homework? Did you complete your assignments? Did you do your project? Why didn't you come yesterday? And children, go around. Every teacher asks the same questions. Did you do my homework? I'm not asking somebody else's homework. Now the child goes home. Child goes home and child is at home and the parents meet the child. What do parents ask children? What is that? Homework given. Get ready, eat something and go for? Poor child. Poor child, I feel sad for these children because every time they are bombarded with questions which are related to subjects, not about life. We have bombarded our children with questions related to subjects, not related to life. Then what happens to the children? Children think that life is equal to subject. When I fail in subject, I fail in life. Then what do you do next? Commit suicide. Whose mistake? Who is teaching them life is equal to subject? Wrong maths. Wrong maths. We are teaching unconsciously a wrong maths. Help students to handle life, not subjects. If we teach our children how to handle life, they will handle subjects. You don't worry. The problem is we are teaching them to handle subjects, then they don't know how to handle life. So therefore, my dear teachers and friends here, and very important thing, life is bigger. Life is bigger than everything. Just yesterday there were two people came for counseling. One fellow had some love affair and problem. I told him, Baba, my dear, you are equating your life to that girl. Life is much more bigger than that girl. Your life is not equal to that girl. So I had 2-3 counseling sessions yesterday just to deal with some of these things, how we equate our life to something which is transitory. So when we talk about life, life is not equal to subjects. I remember some years back we had this system of rank system. Now I think it's a great system in the schools. Earlier we had rank system wherein, if you lose 1 mark, you lose 1 grade or 1 rank. I remember one student from 8th standard. Suddenly one day in my office, parents came and said, Father ji, bachao. I was in Punjab. Father ji, bachao. I said, bachane ke liye kya ho gaya? They said, Father ji, 3 दिन हो गए मेरे बच्चे ने खाना नहीं खाया. क्या हुआ? क्यों नहीं खाना खाया? फादर जी उसको 1 नंबर कम मिला, उसका क्या हुआ? ग्रेड कम हो गया, वो भी रो रही है घर पे. 3 दिन खाना नहीं खाया, उसने खाना नहीं खाया, हमने भी खाना नहीं खाया. Nobody ate food. क्या कर रहे हैं सब? All are celebrating the funeral of 1 mark. Nobody is having food at home. So you equate your life to your marks. Life is not equal to subjects. Life is much more bigger than subjects. Life is not equal to your emotions. Sometimes we, teachers, children, parents, we get emotionally charged and we think life is equal to emotions. No, life is bigger than emotions. Life is bigger than your friends. Sometimes my friend doesn't talk to me. If my friend told me this, my friend doesn't come to me. We equate our life to our friends. It's applicable to all, teachers, students and parents. I'm taking a general spirituality, not a particular spirituality, in the schools. So therefore, it is again problems. I think my life is over. I have this problem. How to get out of it? I think my life is over and I can end my life because I have a problem. Life is not equal to your problems. Life is much more bigger than your problems, my dear friends. Life is not equal to things. I'm sure you will have a lot of example of this. I remember a few days back what I read in the paper in Koperkena in Navi Mumbai, one girl who was on the mobile all the time, and 9th standard girl, and mother told her, my dear, what are you doing all the time on the mobile? Do some study, do some work. So she snatched the mobile from the child and kept the mobile in the cupboard and locked it and went to cook again. And after 5-10 minutes, this girl, 9th standard girl, had a small younger sister, maybe 1st standard or whatever. So this girl, she comes to mommy, come here. She calls the mother. She takes the mother to some room, one of their rooms, to realize that this girl from whom mother had snatched the mobile, she committed suicide. It's a newspaper article. I'm not creating and telling you. It happened in Koperkena, Novi Mumbai, it's where I was in Vashi, in charge of our engineering college and other complex which we have there, big complex in Vashi. So it was just next door. So many times children equate their life to things. We equate our life to work. So what is the spirituality? Life is our spirituality. Being in touch with our life, that is spirituality. And teaching children how to handle life, that is spirituality every day, not handling subject. So therefore, again, if I ask you, my dear friends, if I ask you, what are they doing? What are they doing? Two fellows are there. What are they doing? Constructing. What is he doing? What this fellow is doing? Bricks. Machinery work, building a wall, mixing. Yes. I asked this fellow, he said, I am building a wall. Then I asked this fellow, you know what he said? I am building a beautiful building. I am building a beautiful building. Therefore, teach students to look at the bigger picture. Don't tell them 10 standard, 12 standard. That's a smaller picture. One aspect of your life, not everything of your life. So tell them how life is beautiful, how life has to look. Bigger vision, bigger picture of their life. Give them bigger picture of their life. And I think we are giving them small picture every time. My subject, my exam, this board exam, so the small picture is given, children get confused. Give them a higher and bigger vision of the whole life. They are preparing for their life, not for 8th standard. You are not preparing for 8th standard exam, but you are preparing for life. That is a bigger picture that we need to give them. So therefore, what is more important for parents and teachers who are here? For us, it's very important, my dear friends, to be parents and teachers who are participating in the dreams of our children. Most of the time I have seen, there was a student in Punjab again, when I was there. There was a problem. That student was a new student in our school, just came and joined in our school, and he started saying, and he started failing. He was failing in all the subjects, he was not doing well in exams. So I had a question, is there something wrong in my school or my teachers? What is the problem? Then I called the student and I said, what is happening? Then I called the parents. Parents also said, Father ji, हमने सब कुछ दिया है, उसके लिए एक अलग कार है, ये घर है, flat है, ये है, वो है. Everything we have given, Father. I don't know what is happening to him. He's not studying. He was studying well in the previous school. His report card was good. That's why we gave him admission. And then once the parents went, I spoke to the child again. What is happening? You know what he said? Father, I told my parents to bring my cousin brother to be with me and somebody with me, because my parents are always in farmhouse. They give me everything they want, everything that I want, but they hardly give me any time. They are hardly there with me. They are providing parents, not participating parents. Are we participating in the dreams of our children? Or are we only providing? We are giving everything, but maybe we are not participating in the dreams of our children. Participate, become part of their life, not just providing. So therefore, your life and my life is a teacher. Not the book is not the teacher. Book is not the teacher, our life is a teacher. So therefore, you and I, we need to do what you want your children to do. Be what you want your child to be. You say that, I want my child, don't play in music, don't play with mobile, but you are playing with mobile. And then again, to, make things worse, what we have is, there is a confusing signal, what I call it, confusing signal. You tell, suppose there's an annual function, practice is going on. You tell the children, keep quiet, sit there quietly, don't talk. And two teachers are talking. Children say, teacher is saying don't talk, but they are talking. Confusing signals. Parents, don't tell lie, be truthful. When they are sick, they send a leave note. Not sick, they have gone for party. When they go for party, they send a leave note, child was sick. Then the child says, I was never sick. We went for party, but mommy is telling a lie. So there is a confusing signal. We are giving a lot of confusing signal to our children, and children get confused. So therefore, be what you want your child to be. Do what you want your child to be. That's why Albert Schweitzer said, example is the example is not the only thing that influences people. Example is the main thing that influences people. So therefore, this the spirituality of connectedness than spirituality of individualism. Today, so much of individualism, competition and individualism, which is growing in our schools. So therefore, I think we are going to discuss, somebody is going to talk about quantum physics. We still teach quantum physics in schools, right? This Newton physics. Matter is made out of, we believe that everything is made of gases, liquid, solid, plasma. But today we talk about quantum physics. Not today, Buddha spoke about quantum physics. Yeah, that's the origin. So therefore, this, still today we are teaching this in the schools, right? We are still teaching. But this is quantum physics, what says we are all vibrations, we are all energy, we are only frequency. So therefore, what type of frequency vibrations that we have in our campuses and the classrooms, that's very, very important. Therefore, inclusive spirituality is very important. Samadarshana, which you talk about, is the holistic vision of reality is very important to teach in the schools, day to day, every day. To have a holistic vision of reality. The child sees the self, the same self in everything. I am in you, you are in me. Samadarshana. Also, samabhavana, feeling of oneness with all. That's another beautiful thing that we need to teach in day-to-day classroom. And also sadbhavana, harmony, and loka samagra. There is a concern for integration of the whole world. So the inclusive spirituality, which is very important, and that inclusive spirituality is also non-sectarian, nothing to do with, maybe a school is managed by some religious management, possible. But I think school is also a place, a temple for all faiths. We don't have only few or particular faith. Everybody, children belong to different faith, they come there. So therefore, non-sectarian spirituality, which is inclusive, is very, very important to be promoted. So in India, we have a beautiful saying, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The whole world is my family. Whole world is my family. Aham nija paro veti ganana lagu chetasam udara charita nam tu Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. Who says, this is mine, that is yours, are small-hearted people, small-minded people. One who says, the whole world is my family, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, is a big heart, large. This is what we need to do in our schools, my dear friends. And I think this is, even in the Bible it is said, Isaiah 11:6, where Bible says, even the wolf, lamb, leopard, and cow, they will graze together, live together. The child will play with all these things. And also Jesus says that all may be one. Quantum physics in all the religions. We are all connected. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. That's, I think, what we need to teach in our schools. Today we are teaching my class, my section. Forget about Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. There is no Kutumba here in the school. So therefore, it's more, we forget about even school sometimes. I belong to a school. We belong to a section first. So therefore, that's a very, Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam can be explained in a simple way. Here we have, whenever it rains, birds go to their nest. That is small-minded people. Whenever it rains, bird go to the nest. And only eagle goes high and sees the reality as it is. So spirituality is one which helps us to go beyond. So spirituality helps us to go beyond. And as Shiv Khera says, today's problems are yesterday's short-sighted solutions, and tomorrow's problems, my dear teachers, will be today's short-sighted solutions. Today we need to have a far sight to plan for the future of our children. The solution would be, I would suggest, that all the schools introduce something non-sectarian meditation, calming down, trance. Meditation is a trance. You control your mind, control your thoughts, and get into a stillness of your mind. So I hope every school introduces this meditation, and I believe, and I have been talking about this, meditation is medication. Meditation is medication. It is not just meditation of the mind and just sit there. You get healed. Many sicknesses which I have experienced, I have done. I can give you a lot of things, lot of examples which I won't do today because there is no time. Otherwise, I have seen how meditation is also medication. And it does. It does. So therefore, my dear friends, it is meditation tames the conscious mind and go beyond, unconscious, superconscious, and go beyond, and you explore much more. So therefore, stilling the body and still the body posture, silencing the mind, affirmation to reframe your conscious mind. Now you say there is a problem. A child is not studying. Every child who doesn't study, I have a YouTube channel in which I have meditation for students. Children keep saying, what are the thoughts they have? I can't study, I can't do this, self-defeating thoughts. What we need to do is, we need to give them self-enhancing thoughts. So in that meditation, I give them affirmation, I am studious, I am excellent, I am wonderful. I am studious, I am excellent, I am intelligent. Keep on saying this for 21 days. What you impress will be expressed. We did this experiment with the weak students. Some schools have done, I have the reports of the schools where they collected all the so-called weak children, they brought them together for this meditation, affirmation meditation, where the children transformed their life and they now started studying, their misbehavior is gone and they are doing very well. So therefore, what we need to do, as if you are intelligent and studious and excellent, you have to believe, feel and think as if you are excellent. And then it happens. So therefore, what I tell the students, you fake it till you make it. That's what we do, right? When the medicine is given to you, you don't know what medicine contains. You are faking it. It will heal me. You are faking it, and then you get healed. What do these laughter club people do? Early morning, ha 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 ha. What are they doing? They are faking as if they are happy, and they remain happy. Fake it till you make it, and it happens to your life. And this is what we need to teach our children. They'll be intelligent, excellent, and studious, and this spirituality will help children to transform their life, my dear teachers. So therefore, reframing. So breath could be one of the help to be aware. This is it's a huge topic, my dear friends. We won't be able to explore now. Awareness and mindfulness. What is mindfulness? Mindfulness is ability to live in the present, is mindfulness. So this mindfulness and awareness again is what we can try to do. And I believe every school should have, or rather teachers training. I wish that we have a training to help teachers how to handle their life, not teach children's life, students' life, to handle their life. Once they know how to handle their life, they will know how to handle somebody else's life. So therefore, I believe, I hope B.Ed, D.Ed or TTC, whatever should include practice and theory of non-sectarian meditation, which will help them. School can have a meditation center regular. We can always help those people who are interested. We have been doing this in many schools. So also, okay, I have spoken. Since time, I'll just go. Intention and behavior. I'll tell you one thing, my dear friends. There is no mischievous children in the school. Do you believe that? Then what do you believe? You say, no, this class is mischievous. This student is mischievous. What does it mean? I believe there is no mischievous child in the school. Every mischievous child is a cry for help. Every mischievous child is a cry for help. It is crying to you to help the child. Help me. Once there was a student, I was supposed to help counsel these two children, not 11th standard students, boy and a girl. They belong to two religions. That was a problem. Loving each other, they are in love each other, that's not a big issue. But they belong to two faiths. That was a problem. They said, Father, there could be riot in this village, so please help them to separate. As a priest, I am supposed to help people to love. And here, I am supposed to tell them, don't love. It was a difficult task given to me. Then, as I was talking to them, I spoke to the boy, the girl. They were in love with each other. 11th standard. Nothing great. 11th standard loving each other is nothing great because today it starts in UKG, LKG, even first standard. Nothing great. So when I was talking to the boy and a girl, then finally the boy, after talking to the boy, I said, call your parents. I want to talk to your parents. I don't think any problem with you. When the parents came, I spoke to the parent, mother. Father is abroad. Mother came. She told me many things about the boy. Father, you know, when he was in 8th standard, he used to talk anything, father. Even now he talks anything, father. What did he say? You know, when he was in 8th standard, he used to say, if I get a bomb in my hand, if I get a bomb in my hand, I will throw that bomb on Julie Auntie's parlor. I got confused. Who is Julie Auntie? You know Julie Auntie? Your neighbor? No? Yeah? Girl's mother, mother-in-law. My God. No. Mother-in-law, why does he want to kill mother-in-law? Mother-in-law is a poor lady. Who is Julie Auntie? Julie Auntie, where his mother was working. If I throw bomb on Julie Auntie's parlor, mother will remain at home. She'll spend time with me. And I need mother's love. If I don't get love here, I will seek somewhere else. What I lack, I seek. What I lack at home, I seek in the school. That's why they are called mischievous. They are only seeking something what they are lacking. Try to find out what they are lacking, then give them what they are lacking. They will be normal. Everything will be fine. So know their intention, not their behavior. We are only judging students by behavior. Every person has good intention, maybe bad behavior. You beat children, your intention is bad? No, your behavior is bad. And today it is legally punishable. But your intention is good. Nobody looks at your intention, everybody looks at your behavior. You wanted child to grow well, do well, and unfortunately your intention became, turned into a bad behavior, you are punished. So therefore, intention is, even a robber has a good intention. What is robber's intention? To take care of the family. To take care of the family is not a bad thing. All of us are taking care of our families as we work. So what is bad? Robbing is bad. So therefore, my dear friends, try to understand the intention of your children, not their behavior. When you understand their intention, what they are doing, why they are doing, then you'll be able to help them. All of us are judging them by behavior and spoiling them. And we are not able to help them. So therefore, I think reducing the self-defeating thoughts, I think this is very important. Again, it takes a lot of time to explain about learning state. We come to the class. Children, open your books and start, marathon race. You just start your subject and start teaching. You don't know whether they are attentive, not attentive. There is no learning state. What is learning state? Learning state is a state wherein children have their attention towards you. And their conscious mind is switched off. And unconscious mind is open because conscious mind cannot learn. Only unconscious mind stores things as pictures. So therefore, it is again, we need to deal in detail maybe. So I will not take up this. Again, I'll just take up only one thing since the time is less. What you see, what you think you become. What you eat, you become. You can see that I eat well, right? And what you see, you become. Once one student was brought to me in Pilar when I was in Pilar for some years back, 9th standard student. Father, possessed. Possessed? Evil spirit? And priests are normally supposed to bless and remove the evil spirit. And I normally don't do that. I have done many such things, or rather many people have come. I asked them, what does she do when she's alone? Father, yesterday she was alone. She was alone this morning. And when she was alone, one old man came in the house. Old man with big beard. Ghost came inside the house. And that ghost took her around. And that ghost told her to cut her hair. She cut her hair. And the hair was brought in a plastic to show me. And when the ghost disappeared, she sat alone in one corner. And when I came, mother says, when I came, she hugged me like this. And she was so frightened. And all of them, uncle, auntie, parents, everybody has come with 2 cars, came to Pilar to pray over. I said, okay, fine, we'll do that. I did few things, few techniques. I asked the girl, when she's alone, what does she do? They said, Father, she watches TV, normal. Then what does she watch in TV? Normally she said, I watch horror movies. So what you see, you become. You start seeing horror everywhere. It is what is impressed is expressed. Similarly, some of these children who play with those guns, they take their daddy's gun and go to school and start shooting in school. What is impressed is expressed. So therefore, we need to see, my dear friends, what children see. What they see, they become. What they see, they become. So therefore, maybe some practical tips. Okay, I'll wind up here. These are some of the topics that we deal with. What I'll do is I'll just play these few things that are done here and there. I'll just play this audio for you. These are some of the meditations that are being conducted in different schools, many schools which are practicing, and they are helped for day to day, every day, every day. It is not once in a while, once a week. Every day there are children meditating in the morning, afternoon, and also they are trained how to meditate in different schools. And there are places where I go to take these sessions, but non-sectarian meditation, nothing to do with any religion, though we belong to a particular religion. Also there are engineering students, or college students or whatever, so we teach them some of these techniques. The topic is academic excellence through concentration techniques. We don't say meditation because people have a little allergy towards spirituality, meditation. So we tell them concentration techniques through academic excellence through concentration techniques, then people are happy about it. So we teach them actually meditation techniques to relax and to learn things better. So these are a few things that I have here to show you. Although college students, we teach them in small groups to sit and relax. Okay, it's fine. No, a small video. You can keep a mic there, projector at mic door. Also for teachers, sessions for teachers, I think there are maybe a few teachers here who have attended this. Also for lay people, any walks of life. Good, thank you very much. God bless. I think I'm within time.
I would request Dr. Madhavi to kindly felicitate Father Evan Almeida.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Hope that as teachers we are able to do what.
Okay, God bless.
I'm very happy to announce we have Mrs. Sulakshana Pramod Sawant with us in our midst. Ma'am, please, can we welcome her with a big round of applause? The next session, I request Mrs. Tanuja Jaju to introduce our third speaker, Sister Suman of Brahma Kumari, who is going to speak on need of spirituality in education. I request President Agrusa, Mr. Deepak Khetan, to kindly felicitate Mrs. Sulakshana Pramod Sawant.
Good afternoon, everyone here. B.K. Suman is a senior meditation teacher and a management trainer of the Brahma Kumari based at the global headquarters. For over 25 years, Sister Suman has been an outstanding lecturer, teacher, and broadcaster on human development, meditation, and creative abilities of the mind. She has traveled many countries to serve the humanity with a deep touch of spiritual wisdom. Having been trained in self-managing leadership, stress management, communication skills, living values, Sister Suman is conducting such courses in various organizations, institutions, and industries in India and abroad. She has delivered many talks on television and radio on various topics at different places. She is one of the main speakers at many national and international conferences held in Mount Abu every year. She is an experienced teacher cum guide in Raj Yoga meditation. Sister Suman is the National Coordinator of Education Wing and a trainer in value education in diploma and degree courses conducted by the organizations in affiliation with various universities in India. She is the coordinator for programs that are held in Gyan Sarovar for Indians and foreigners throughout the year. Sister Suman has travelled extensively in India and abroad, inspiring many souls with her deep touch of spiritual wisdom. We welcome you, ma'am.
सबको भूख लगी है. You will have to bear with me for the next at least 45 minutes. Okay? Are you ready to bear with me? Yeah? थोड़ा भूख भी लगे ना तो अपना ध्यान वहाँ नहीं ले जाना, ध्यान यहाँ भटका देना, तो then it will be okay.
Dignitaries of this conference, speakers, and all my dear educators, school educators, principals who are here to empower themselves from this conference. आज के इस टॉपिक को देख करके मुझे बहुत खुशी हुई. I was so happy looking at this topic of the conference, because to speak about spirituality in education is something very new. Of course, we have been organizing such conferences in our campus, speaking about spirituality in education. We as Brahma Kumaris, we are organizing as a spiritual organization, but as a education organization, to organize such a
Conference, it is, I think, a very courageous step, I can say. Because until now, people want to keep education secular, and in the name of secularism, we have lost that essence of values and spirituality. So when we look at this whole scenario of education, the speakers before, they have been speaking about what is the meaning of education and what is all about, and why there should be spirituality in education. Because we want spirituality in every areas of our society, actually. And as Brahma Kumaris, we are working towards it for the past 83 years, promoting spirituality in every profession of the society. But why education also? When we look at the present scenario of the education, it is in a very pitiable condition. When we look at the history of education, as the previous speakers said, we had our Takshashila and Nalanda universities where it was so famous, and students from abroad, they used to come and study here. And they used to get the overall education, holistic education about their life. And when they passed out of the university, they could face the life in the society. But at present, just see a student, when the student passes out of university, taking a graduate degree, might be double degrees, PhDs, when that student walks out of the university, is that student capable of facing the challenges of life? What do you say? What do you say? Is that person capable of facing the challenges of life? Answer is no. So there is something missing in our curriculum which is not making the student to face the challenges of life. And that's the reason there are so many issues that's going on, not only in India but abroad as well. So I have with me the statistics of 2017 and 2008. Latest statistics, I was not able to get it. So 2017 and 2018 statistics of today's India. More than 65% population below the age of 35 in India. We all agree to that. Every year, more than 1 lakh people 1 lakh people commit suicide in India, and 80% of the suicide victims are literates. I'm not saying as educated people, but literates. There is a difference between literates and educated people, right? You know that. Literates are just who know how to write and read. So 80% of the suicide victims are literates, which is higher than the national average of literacy rate of 74%. Murder has increased by 7.39 between 2017 and 18. Kidnapping has increased to 47.80% between 2017 and 18. Crimes against women, as you all know, has increased drastically. Annual estimation of abortion in India is 1.56 crores. And 89% of drug addicts are literates. Consumption of alcohol in teenagers has increased drastically. India ranks amongst the most corrupt countries in the world. So, looking at this statistics, we need to do something about it, because if we don't do it now, it will be too late, right? So what is it that we want to do in education system? And why educators are, targeted every time? Because educators for everything, for census reading, everything, educators are, teachers are targeted. You have to do this, you have to do that. But here also, when we speak of values and value education, again, teachers are targeted. Why? Because the teachers hold a very responsible role in the society. We need to understand that. But don't get afraid, but understand how elevated your profession is, how important your profession is in this society. Because why educators' role is important in the society is because in the present scenario, when both the parents are working, because in nowadays society, if one person is earning, it's not enough for the family. So both of them are working. When both of them are working, so who is taking care of the child? Hardly anyone. When the child comes back to the house, so there are no parents and they come late and they are tired, they can't give quality time to the child. And most of the awakened time that the child spends is at school. When he goes at home, वो जब घर जाता है बच्चा, तो वो सो जाता है या खेलने जाता है, so he doesn't spend quality time with his or her parents. But the child spends the awakened time, the maximum amount of time at school and colleges. So now the teachers and educators have to play the role of the parents as well now.